Hello ladies and gentlemen, Tevaron here, and welcome to some more Magic Arena content. Today we're not going to really be doing any gameplay. The set just launched, and what we're going to be doing is some lazy content, I guess, though maybe there's some information to be had. We're going to open a bunch of packs, but first, due to the changes that have come about in this patch, they have solved the 5th card problem with rares and mythics. So if you were going to open a rare that you already have 4 of, now it will move to another rare and you'll get that instead. And if you already have 4 of every rare in the set, then you will get gems. The same applies to mythics. However, uncommons and commons extras still count towards vault progress, where we can get some more mythics and rares. So what I'm going to do is spend all of these on commons and uncommons in the new set to try to speed up our vault progress, as commons and uncommons have never been an issue for us. We'll see how that works out. Alrighty, so that was a ton of clicking, about 30 solid minutes, but we have now spent all of our common and uncommon wildcards. Didn't quite get 4 of every common and uncommon in the set. These are the uncommons left that we don't have, so quite a few, though we did get most of the uncommons, as you can see there. And then just bring up the commons. You've got a lot of those. And then we're into the stuff that we don't have. So a few pages, but that should help us open our vault quicker when we do pack openings. Speaking of which, let's get some. Alright, starting off with 90 packs, we get 2 free mythics of the Haunt of Hightower, which I believe is the Buy a Box promo. So let's get to cracking, shall we? Not going to really be talking about the commons and uncommons we get, as there are just so many of them. Absorb, actually one of my favorite cards of all time. Played a lot of this back when it was originally printed in Invasion block. Really love that. Counter target spell, gain 3 life. End-Raze Forerunners. Probably not the best rare to be opening, but we've got a lot more packs to go. Stomping Ground, yes please. Lands are super important. They allow you to actually play the decks you want to play. You want 4 of all of the shocks, eventually. Glass of the Guild Pact. This may actually be an enabler for a multicolored creature aggro deck. Not completely sure, but there is speculation about that. Got ourselves a wild card there, working on a mythic one. Warrant and Warden, very good control card, dealing with attacking or blocking creatures and making a 4/4 white flying vigilant creature to block or finish off the opponent at some point. Oh, mythic wild card, yes please. Want all of the mythic and rare wild cards that we can get. Mirror Match. Not totally familiar with this. So whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, flip a coin until you lose a flip. For each flip you won, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. Alright, doesn't seem all that great to me. Very random, but it could be fun. Sphinx of Foresight. This is a very good card. 4 mana for a 4/4 flyer is great. You can reveal it in your opening hand to get to scry 3 at the beginning of your first upkeep. And to be honest, the beginning of upkeep scry 1 is just icing on the cake. 4 mana for a 4/4 flyer is in and of itself very good. Kaya's Wrath. Yes, please. 4 mana Wrath of God, though I do suspect, being double black, double white, casting this on turn 4 may be a bit more difficult than people are warranting. However, it does also have an upside of gaining life equal to the number of creatures that we controlled that were destroyed. Another mirror match. Well, not super excited about that, but we have to get 4 of them at some point, I suppose. Bedeck and Bedazzle. So, Bedeck is a good removal spell. Very reminiscent of cards like Nameless Inversion. Target creature gets +3, -3 until end of turn. And Bedazzle is okay. Destroy target non-basic land, deal 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. Bedeck, by far the better of the 2 sides of this card, in my opinion. Benthic Biomancer. So one of our first Adapt Simic cards here. 1 for a 1/1, 2 mana to adapt 1, and whenever 1 or more +1 counters are put on Benthic Biomancer, draw a card, then discard a card. It's a very convoluted loot effect that I'm not sure how good it will actually be. I imagine it's fine in limited, draft, or sealed, or whatever. I think probably less so in constructed. Lumbering Battlement. Well, this card is full of flavor for sure. 5 mana for a 4/5 Vigilant. When it enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-token creatures you control until it leaves the battlefield, and it gets +2/+2 for each card exiled with it. So, got some interesting things that you can do with this. It's perfectly fine the size that it is, and can get very, very big, and in a way sort of insulates you from board wipes. You can exile several of your cards and just swing with it until it gets killed and then they come back. So that is interesting, though I'm not sure that it's very good. Oh, I clicked a little too fast there, though we did get us another Stomping Ground, which is fine, and I have opened 10, which maybe actually is the better way to do this. Now that I think of it, since we're only looking at the rares anyway. Pestilent Spirit, Menace, Death Touch. It's fine. Repudiate and Replicate. Most of these split cards are very good. It is the choice that makes them good, the versatility of it. So counter target activated or triggered ability, so basically Stifle for an extra mana, or create a token that's a copy of a creature that you control. It's fine. Unbreakable Formation. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. If you cast it during your main phase, via Addendum, put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures, and they gain Vigilance until end of turn. Not really sure about this. 3 mana seems a lot for this effect. Make a Stand was in the format for quite a while and really didn't get played, but maybe the +1/+1 counter thing will put this over the top. We got 2 more Benthic Biomancers, so one more and we've got our play set of those. Incubation Druid is kind of exciting. Good for a ramp deck, 2 mana for an 0/2, and you can tap it to add a mana of any type that a land you control could produce, and if it has a +1/+1 counter on it, add 3 mana of that type instead. So it's a reusable Black Lotus, basically at that point. The adapt cost is rather high. However, you don't have to adapt it to get counters on it. There are other ways to do that, so excited to see what this thing can do. Another Sphinx, Gutter Bones. Maybe there is an aggressive black, maybe Rakdos black-red or something deck that wants to play Gutter Bones. 1 for a 2/1 is really good in black. They don't really get that sort of thing very often, though it does enter the battlefield tapped, but in a deck like that, you don't want to be blocking anyway, and it gets to recur if you basically trigger Spectacle, if your opponent lost life this turn. And another Bedeck Bedazzle. Right, another Absorb. Awesome. Got a Mythic, Rakdos the Showstopper. I'm not certain that this guy is constructed playable, but he's awesome. Just look at that, carrying his axe there. Flying, trample 6/6/4/6. When he enters the battlefield, flip a coin for each creature that isn't a demon, devil, or imp, and destroy each creature whose coin comes up tails. So a lot of randomness going on there, but honestly, a 6/6 flying trample for 6 is okay. Though Doom Whisperer is a 6/6 flying trample for 5s, I don't really know if Rakdos for the 1 extra mana is worth playing over Doom Whisperer, I guess time will tell. Growth Chamber Guardian is pretty good, and I've seen a lot of pro Magic players talking about how good this is. It's a 2 mana 2/2, which is fine. However, 3 mana adapt 2, so in the early game you're just constantly threatening to adapt this guy. You can attack. If they don't block and threaten to kill it, you don't have to adapt. And whenever 1 or more +1 counters are put on it, you get to search your library for another Growth Chamber Guardian and put it into your hand. Pretty good. Another Druid, Mesmerizing Benthid. This card is something I think is an absolute house in Limited, Draft, or Sealed. I'm not sure it's going to be that great in Constructed, but putting 3 creatures out for 5 mana, one of which is a 4/5 that has hexproof as long as you have the other 2, seems okay. I'm not super excited to put this in a Constructed deck, but maybe that is the direction things will go. Got our first Black-White Shock, Godless Shrine, Dovin Grand Arbiter. I think Dovin is actually one of the better Planeswalkers in this set. Not really a fan of Kaya, and Domri seems okay, but I think Dovin really synergizes with some of the Planeswalkers that we've already got. Karn, Tezzeret, and, even Teferi to an extent, but more so with the 2 artifact synergistic Planeswalkers. Curving this turn 3 into turn 4 Karn into turn 5 Tezzeret seems like maybe a really good deal. Deputy of Detention is a creature version of Sphere of Detention, and as such is probably a lot worse than Sphere of Detention because it's easier to kill, though it may still be good enough to see some play. Rix Maddie Reveler. Not real sure about this one either. Seems like there are better things to be doing in the Rakdos colors at 2 and at 4 mana, to be honest. So we'll see about that. Another Bedazzle. Mythic Wildcard, yes please. Guardian Project. Probably a fun card. Doesn't really do what a competitive deck is looking to do. We got some more Shocklands, awesome. Another Kaya's Wrath. Awaken the Erstwhile. Each player discards all cards in their hand, then creates that many 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. This could be a decent card versus an opposing control deck, if that control deck is not counterspell based. And another breeding pool, Immolation Shaman. This is an interesting hate bear. Though Harsh Mentor was around for a long time and hardly ever saw play, the 5 mana +3/+3 and Menace makes it a bit better, I guess. Though the body is different, a 1/3 instead of a 2/2. I just don't know. I'm not generally a fan of this type of hate bear type card, though maybe it will turn out to be great. Another Guardian. We've got Ravager Worm here, which is 6 mana for a 4/5 with Riot. When it enters the battlefield, you get to choose one of these. Ravager Worm fights target creature you don't control, or destroy target land with an activated ability that isn't a mana ability. Not real sure about this guy. Oh, by the way, Riot, as you can see on the tooltip up there, is a choice you get to make when the creature enters the battlefield to either put a +1/+1 counter on it or give it haste. Yeah, I'm not real sure that 6 mana is worth what this guy is doing, but I suppose we shall see as time goes on. Oh, opened one at a time there. Need to click the 10. Let's see what we got. Another Rakdos, sure. Right, there's our third Kaya's Wrath, I think, unless I'm misremembering. Bedevil. Great removal, 2 black and a red, destroy target artifact, creature, or planeswalker at instant speed. Very excited about this card. Also in this vein, the reprint of Mortify, which is an uncommon for a black and a white, destroy target creature or enchantment at instant speed. Hero of Precinct 1, I think, has constructed implications. Maybe slots into the Boros aggro deck or some other, say, mid-range Angel-y type decks, which may be a thing in Orzhov now. Rampage of the Clans is also pretty interesting. Instant speed, destroy all artifacts and enchantments. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller creates a 3/3 green centaur creature token. That's a big downside, though maybe decks that want to play this don't really care about that. Mass Manipulation. I don't know if there's a constructed deck that's going to be able to play this, but it is very powerful. For 6 mana, you get to steal a creature or planeswalker. For 8 mana, you get to steal 2. That's pretty strong, but it's also a lot of mana. I guess we'll see if that works out. Electro Dominance, though, seems very powerful to me. Even more so in a format like Modern, though, that isn't on Arena yet. Casting an X spell at instant speed that also lets you cast a card with converted mana X or less from your hand for free. And this breaks timing restrictions, so you could Electro Dominance for 4, hit your opponent in the face for 4 at the end of their turn, and also cast Kaya's Wrath for free on their instep. That's pretty good. Oh, and I did the 1 pack again, which I guess we're going to have to do 4 as that goes. Another Godless Shrine to get to where we're even on the 10s. What have we here? Another Awaken the Erstwhile. Not super excited about that. Ooh, wild card. That's always good. Get to create exactly what we want. I think that's a mythic. By the red glow. No, it's a rare. Fooled me. And another Kaya's Wrath. I think that may be our 4th one, so we shouldn't see any more of this if I'm correct about that. In fact, we could check. Yes, we have 4 Kaya's Wrath, so if the new algorithm that they put in is working right, we should not see any more Kaya's Wrath in our pack openings. If Kaya's Wrath would have been opened, it should automatically switch to another rare that we do not have 4 of. Let's do it 10 at a time. Another wild card, awesome. Plaza of Harmony. When it enters the battlefield, if you control 2 or more gates, you gain 3 life. There may be a gate deck that can be built with this set, though I imagine that that's more of a draft thing, to be honest. Prime Speaker Vanifer is one of the most expensive cards in the set if you're just buying in paper. So for 4, we have a 2/4. Tap and sacrifice another creature. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Activate this only as a sorcery. It's basically a creature version of Birthing Pod, which you may know is banned in Modern. But again, just like with the Detention Sphere creature, creatures are a lot easier to kill than artifacts, so whether she's going to actually be good or not is debatable. Then we have Judith, the Scourge Diva, which I think is a very strong card. If there are sufficient sack outlets available, aristocrat-style decks where you sacrifice things and get additional bonuses for that may be a real threat in the new standard. For 3, we have a 2/2 that gives all other creatures you control +1/+0, and whenever a non-token creature you control dies, she deals 1 damage to any target. Another Sphinx, we have Nikia, something along those lines, of the old ways. You can't cast non-creature spells. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land could produce. So basically a one-sided mana flare. Not real sure about this. Mana Flare at 3 could be busted sometimes, though Heartbeat of Spring honestly was better, at least in the format that it was in. It enabled a combo deck to be a thing, but I guess we will see how she shapes up. And then we have Cinder Vines. We have an enchantment for a green and a red. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Cinder Vines deals 1 damage to that player. Pay 1 and sacrifice it to destroy target artifact or enchantment. And Cinder Vines deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. This is probably quite a good sideboard card versus controlling decks or versus decks that are very heavy in artifacts and enchantments. Another Warrant Warden, Guardian Project, Biogenic Ooze. This card is very powerful. However, that being said, I'm not sure if it's constructed worthy. For 5 mana, we have a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, we get a 2/2 green ooze. And at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each ooze you control. For 1 and 3 green, we can create another 2/2 ooze. If you open this at your pre-release, or in sealed in general draft, it will be harder to make work because people get to choose their removal spells and such. But I think this is a limited bomb and probably not so good in constructed. There is Domri, probably the second best planeswalker in the set, though maybe he's better than Dovin. I'm not for sure. For 4 mana, we have a 5 loyalty planeswalker. We can add a green or a red, and if we cast a creature with it, then that creature gains Riot. We can -3 to look at the top 4 cards of our library. We may reveal up to 2 creature cards from among them and put them into our hand. And his ultimate is -8, and we get an emblem with, at the beginning of each end step, create a 4/4 red and green beast creature token with trample. And that is each end step, not yours, so you get 1 on yours and 1 on your opponent's. Then Hydroid Krasis, which is probably a really good payoff card for a ramp deck, as long as your opponent's not on counter spells. When you cast this spell, you gain half X life and draw half X cards, rounded down each time, and its power and toughness is equal to X. Flying Trampler. Biomancer's Familiar, 2 mana for a 2/2. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the amount of mana an ability costs to less than 1. So this is a very good card for an adapt-based deck. We can also tap it, and the next time target creature adapts this turn, it adapts as though it had no +1/+1 counters on it. So normally you can't adapt a creature that has a +1/+1 counter on it already. This gets around that. Not sure that's a thing you want to be doing, but it is a thing that you can be doing. Ethereal Absolution is also an interesting card. I am a fan of this, though I don't know if it's actually going to do what I want it to do. I think it's going to be a decent 1 or 2 of sideboard card for a black-white based control deck. Creatures you control get +1/+1, and creatures your opponents control get -1/-1. We can pay 4 and exile a card from an opponent's graveyard. If it was a creature card, we get a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying, which is actually a 2/2 if you still have the Ethereal Absolution in play. And another Rakdos the Showstopper. We've got a Repudiate and Replicate again. Smothering Tithe, I don't think this card is very good. Investing 2 mana to make a treasure token each time your opponent draws a card is not very good, I don't think, and you have to pay 4 mana to just get it into play. Thrash and Threat, on the other hand, is pretty good, especially in an aggressive deck. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control, so effective removal. Or create a 4/4 red and green beast creature token with trample. Another Gutterbones. Font of Agonies. We have not opened this yet. For 1 black, we get an enchantment. Whenever you pay life, put that many blood counters on Font of Agonies. For a black and a colorless, remove 4 blood counters and destroy target creature. If a deck that pays a lot of life is a thing, then this will probably be a thing in that deck. I don't know that such a deck will be a thing, but there you go. That's all of the packs that we had. I don't think we're very close to having all of the rares and mythics yet. We probably have some that we haven't opened. We haven't opened Kaya for sure. So let's get some more packs, shall we? So we have 4,300 gems left. We can get 15 for that. And then another 6. Don't really want to spend any more cash on this stuff if we can help it. We do have a lot of wild cards to kind of fill things out if we want to. We also have some gold. Let's go ahead and blow that. I think I'll spend 25,000 and keep 5 for event entries. Alright, so another 46 packs. We're going to have to open 6 of them individually, which I'm not going to do off the bat because I have a tendency, as you saw, to click the pack by accident. Ooh, some new stuff. Ravnica Azorius Renegade. For a blue and a white, we have a 2/2 legendary human soldier. Each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with converted mana cost greater than the number of lands that player controls, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. Much better in Modern, I think, where things like Urgatron paying 7 mana with 3 lands to try to cast a Karn Liberated is a thing that this will stop. Captive Audience, 7 mana. For an enchantment, it enters the battlefield under the control of an opponent of your choice. So basically it's a curse, just sort of with different wording on it. And at the beginning of your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen. So your opponent is choosing these. Your life total becomes 4, discard your hand, and each opponent creates 5 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. This may be a win condition in a Jundish style mid-range or control deck, though I'm not very sure. 7 mana is a lot to be paying. And we finally got Akaya, which I'm pretty sure is the weakest of the Planeswalkers in the set. For 3, we have a 3 loyalty Planeswalker that we can plus to exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard, and you gain 2 life if at least 1 creature card was exiled this way. -1, exile target non-land permanent with converted mana cost of 1 or less, and -5, she deals damage to target player equal to the number of cards that player owns in exile, and you gain that much life. Probably a sideboard card versus graveyard strategies. Amplifier is a very cool idea and very cool art. 4 mana for a 1/1 elemental. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Until your next turn, Amplifier's base power becomes twice that card's power, and the same thing for its toughness. I don't think this card's very good, though very cool idea. And everything else we've already seen. Ooh, looks like our vault is ready to be popped. Seraph of the Scales. So if an Orzhov Angel deck is a thing in the new standard, this card will definitely be in it. For 2, a black and a white, we have a 4/3 Flying Angel. We can pay white at any point to give it Vigilance, black at any point to give it Death Touch till end of turn, and if it dies, we get 2 1/1 white black spirit creature tokens with flying. Very good rate, very good card. Theater of Horrors. This is a pseudo Phyrexian arena. For 3 mana, we have an enchantment that at the beginning of our upkeep, we exile the top card of our library. During our turn, if an opponent lost life, we can play the cards exiled with Theater of Horrors, and that's not just for the turn, that's ever. So as long as Theater's in play and our opponent has lost life, we can play any of the cards exiled with it. We can also pay 3 and a red to have it deal 1 damage to target opponent or Planeswalker. I think this card is potentially very, very good in sort of an aggressive Rakdos style deck, as it lets you have, again, pseudo card draw, and in the very late games, should the game go that long, is inevitability with pinging your opponent over and over for 1. Teysa Karlov, 2, a black and a white, for a legendary human advisor. 2/4. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Creature tokens you control have Vigilance and Lifelink, so this synergizes very well with the Orzhov mechanic of Afterlife. I don't know that she's good enough to play, but that is what she's designed to do. Another Rampage of the Clans, we've got another Thrash Threat, and Guardian Project. Ooh, a Spawn of Mayhem. This card is potentially quite powerful. For 2 and 2 black, we have a 4/4 Flying Trample. However, spectacle cost of 1 black, so if our opponent has lost life this turn, it only costs 3 mana. At the beginning of our upkeep, it deals 1 damage to each player. Then if you have 10 or less life, put a +1/+1 counter on Spawn of Mayhem. This card's very strong. Whether it's strong enough to actually make an impact in the format, I am not sure, but I think it'll be exciting to see what comes from this. Got Skargan Hellkite for 3 and 2 red. We have a dragon, 4/4 Flying Riot, so it can be a 4/4 with haste or a 5/5 dragon. You can pay 3 in a red and have it deal 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Activate this ability only if Skargan Hellkite has a +1/+1 counter on it, so that's incentive to choose the +1/+1 counter with Riot, though as we've stated, there are other ways to get +1/+1 counters on creatures other than the Riot that they already have. And then everything else we have seen already. Angel of Grace, that's a new mythic. For 3 and 2 white, we have a 5/4 flash flying. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the most expensive card in the set at this point for pre-order. When it enters the battlefield, until end of turn, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. And for 4 and 2 white, we can exile it from our graveyard and have our life total become 10. So this has multiple implications. Flash and Flying Angels have traditionally seen play. Also, protecting you from dying in a turn means that this could go in multiple different archetypes. Just an Angel deck in particular, and in a control deck also, to sort of hedge from dying and give you a little longevity, plus being a great beater in the air. Then we have Zigana, Utopian Speaker. We haven't seen her yet, I don't think. For 2, a green and a blue, we have a legendary Merfolk. When she enters the battlefield, if you control another creature with a +1/+1 counter on it, draw a card. And then for 6 mana, we can adapt 4. And each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. This may be a card that actually makes Merfolk a deck worth playing. And then our last 6 packs. Another familiar. Another Font of Agonies. I think that's the second one that we've gotten. Ethereal Absolution. I think that's our second one of those 2. Verity Circle. I do believe this is the first time we've opened this one. For 2 and a blue, we have an enchantment. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. And for 5 mana, we can tap a creature without flying. Again, I don't know that this is constructed playable. I think it's very good and limited, though if there are ramp decks that can generate a lot of mana and don't want to be doing other things with that mana, then this is a thing they could do, maybe? Yeah, probably just not a constructed card. Ooh, Hallowed Fountain. Yes, please. And our last pack. Emergency Powers. So a new mythic. For 5, a blue, and a white, we have an instant. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draw 7 cards. Exile Emergency Powers. Addendum. If we cast this during our main phase, we may put a permanent card with converted mana cost 7 or less from our hand onto the battlefield. This is yet another version of Time Twister, and one that I'm not sure is actually worth playing. Though I will say when it was first spoiled, it was by far the most expensive card to pre-order in the set, topping out above $15. Now I think it's down around 5 or 6. Not super excited about it, though maybe there is a deck that wants to take advantage of this. And that is all the packs that we have. Let's see, is it just once that we get to open this? It is, so we're at 120% vault progress, and if I wasn't a moron, I should have looked up here and seen what the progress was beforehand. But there are our wild cards. Let's look and see how our wild cards and such are doing. So 16 mythics, 26 rares, and we're back up around 50-ish of each of these, so I may, when I get a few minutes, go back through and spin these on more uncommons and commons if there are still any in this set that we have not gotten in pack openings yet. And it looks like there are a few, though not a ton. So we should be able to round this out, and then from then on, every uncommon and common that we open in pack openings will go towards our vault progress. And I think that that will do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, let me know in the comments and by leaving a like below. It really does help tremendously. And of course, subscribe if you'd like to see more content in the future. I have been Tevaron, and until next time, friends, be excellent to each other.